So, community bills of rights, they're different. They're not zoning laws, they're not regulatory laws. When I think of the term regulate, I think of it as something different from governing. Regulating means the decision on whether something is legal or not has already been made, for instance, at the state legislature. They've already decided, for instance, that fracking is legal. How do we know it's legal? Because they issue permits to allow it. The permit is the piece of paper that makes it legal for them to do damage in your community. That's what regulations are. They set the standard for how much damage is legal, but no more. Don't do any more damage than that. This much damage is legal, and here is your permit allowing you to inflict it on the community. That's regulating. And then we're told locally, well, all we can do is try to enforce to make sure they don't exceed the amount of damage that's been legalized. The communities that have approached the Legal Defense Fund and Global Exchange asking for assistance with enacting local community bills of rights that ban corporate activities that inflict damage and violate fundamental rights, those communities have concluded they don't want to just slow down the rate of destruction in their community. They don't think that slowing down the rate of destruction is the way to protect their health, safety, and welfare, their environment, or to leave anything, to promise anything to future generations. They don't believe it's a way to respect Mother Nature. And so they come to us and they say, we hear you people are crazy, and you're willing to help us write laws that tell the state and the federal governments that if you issue permits and licenses to corporations, making it legal for them to violate our rights, then your laws are illegitimate and we're going to govern in our communities because we are the people. And if you don't have the authority to govern what happens in your own community, you don't have the authority to self-government anywhere. If you can't do it where you live, you're being denied the right to self-government. And if that's happening, it really is time to warrior up. And that means for us to gain courage. That means that we have to stop doubting that we have those rights. That's the biggest hurdle to overcome. It's not the state's preemptive laws. It's not corporate power. It's not the threat of lawsuits. The first hurdle to overcome is the doubt in your mind that you have a right to make governing decisions for your own community. Today, it's your decision day. Are you going to take on that responsibility? And I think it's a weighty responsibility, but, you know, I choke up a little bit about it because I think how responsible we are right here today, the adults in the room today, to the kids that are back home, to the kids that aren't born yet, to the ones we aren't going to be around to meet. What are they going to think of us if we say, no, I think I'll pass. I don't want to get sued. Imagine at those really big turning points in history, if the question was, well, should we go out and fight the British? No, we might get sued if we do that. You know, if that was the standard, we probably would have made some really poor decisions in history. I'm going to wrap it up. There's an awful lot I could say. There are a lot of questions people raise like, well, what if we do get sued? Then what? I don't dismiss those serious questions, so don't hold back on them. Ask the hard questions. How are we going to get our elected officials to agree to do something that the attorney, the city attorney, is going to say, that's illegal, you can't do it? You have to be able to know how to answer those questions. We've been through it all. Of the 150 communities that have adopted rights-based ordinances, 15 of them have dealt with fracking because it's a relatively new issue. We're not issue-oriented. Our focus is on empowering the community to express the greatest degree of local self-government possible and to protect the health, safety, and welfare, the fundamental rights and quality of life for you and for future generations. That's what we need to do. You don't really have a fracking problem. You have a democracy problem. Let's stop trying to cure the symptoms. Fracking's a symptom. Let's cure the disease. When you're told you're not allowed to say no to fracking and to other activities by large, wealthy corporations that violate your rights, the answer isn't, oh, shucks, guess I'll go home. The answer is, bull. Bull, we're going to fix it. We're going to say no. And we're going to keep saying no. And we're not going to take anything else for an answer because we govern. The people we elect don't. They're public servants. By the way, I'd like to thank Doug Shields for being such a wonderful public servant and actually representing the interests and rights of his constituents. So thank you, and thanks all for coming.
Thank you, Ben.